Ahead in 11 at 11, reaction plus some of the evidence FBI agents have in the extortion case against New York's top judge. Yesterday, police found the body of Gail Scholar. Today, they say they have her killer.
If you've had it with this cold stuff, I've got news of a warming trend. News Center 6, 11 at 11 is coming up next. Don't go away.
Mary Beth Wenger. Sports with Kyle Kraska and weatherman Peter Bernard. Now, live in the next 11 minutes, the top news, sports, and tomorrow's forecast. This is News Center 6, 11 at 11.
Good evening. Topping 11 at 11, New York State's chief judge is in a psychiatric center under guard tonight, charged in a bizarre case involving alleged extortion of a former mistress. Reaction to Saul Wachtler's arrest by FBI agents ranges from shock to disbelief. We have team coverage of this story, beginning with CBS's John Roberts.
Since his appointment as Chief Justice in 1985, Saul Wachtler has been among the country's most respected jurists. The charges against him have shocked both fellow judges and those who argued before him.
This is a man who could be governor of the state of New York, who could be on the United States Supreme Court.
FBI documents accuse Wachtler of harassing his former lover, Republican fundraiser Joy Silverman, and threatening to kidnap her 14-year-old daughter unless he was paid $20,000. An investigation into the threats was launched more than a month ago when Joy Silverman contacted her personal friend, FBI Director William Sessions. She claimed that Wachtler, married with 4 children, had been harassing her since she broke off their love affair last year. Through an unlisted number placed by Silverman in a local classified, the FBI taped conversations and traced calls allegedly made by Wachtler. In one, the caller threatened, "You're going to be in serious trouble, and you're not going to see your daughter again. You hear me? I'm a sick and desperate man. I need the money, and you'll be hearing from me." When he failed to pick up the $20,000 payment yesterday, a team of 80 agents shadowed Wachtler, arresting him on the Long Island Expressway as he drove home.
The crime charged in this case is obviously a very serious crime. Anytime threats are directed to injure someone's reputation or to harm a child, we have to take the matter very seriously.
Why the FBI approached the case so dramatically is being questioned.
The treatment of this, at least at first blush, seems to have been John Gotti-like in its scope and nature.
This is Ed O'Brien. Tonight, the future for the state's chief judge is downright chilling. He's being held in a psychiatric ward facing federal extortion charges. Wachtler was once considered a likely challenger to the governor in 1994. Tonight, the governor is reminding New Yorkers of the presumption of innocence.
I am really shocked. I mean, I am shocked because it's inconsistent with the person that I know.
Martin Belsky, the former dean of the Albany Law School, says Wachtler has never indicated he has any problems.
I mean, this person's background, his experience, the way he's dealt with issues, and his personal relationships with people, whether it's women or minorities, is such that it's quite surprising to see these allegations.
But despite the shocking nature of the allegations, an expert on the system says the court itself will suffer no damage.
It's going to raise some questions, but this is not a court scandal. If it's a scandal, it's about a member of the court, and probably will be seen as more severe because it's the chief judge, but it's not the court that's involved.
Most observers expect Wachtler to step down, at least temporarily. Of course, those same observers never expected to see a case like this in the first place. Ed O'Brien, 11 at 11.
And if Wachtler does step down temporarily, legal experts say a retired Court of Appeals judge will most likely be brought in to fill the 7th chair on the court. Well, shocking is the word that many are using in reaction to the charges against Judge Wachtler. Our political observer, Dr. Alan Shartok, says Judge Wachtler is a man he knows well.
It may well be that something happened, but I just have the strange feeling that this man, who well could have run against Mario Cuomo for governor, was talking about it. We hear he was going to do it. What I think is that the governor was right. The governor says he is innocent until proven guilty. He is a tremendous man, and in my opinion, we have to understand that this is a guy who has given an awful lot to this system and who is entitled to that presumption. And if, in fact, it turns out that there is something that he's done, All I can say is that politics and being in this pressure cooker can do strange things to people, can make you act out in ways you wouldn't even believe.
Allen says the charges against Wachtler have destroyed any chance he had of running for governor. Police in Piscataway, New Jersey have made quick work of an abduction and murder case that sent shockwaves through the country. Today, detectives charged a 22-year-old man with the abduction and slaying of Gail Scholar. Scholar's body was found yesterday in Piscataway. On Tuesday, the mom and her 3-year-old daughter were abducted while running errands. The girl was found unharmed Wednesday morning on the lawn of a daycare center. Police say they have the evidence that pins the crime on Scott Johnson of Plainfield, New Jersey.
We had fingerprints from the Scholar van, which matched Mr. Johnson's. Mr. Johnson had a cut on his right index finger, which would be consistent with the use of a knife in the murder of Gail Scholar.
Police also say Johnson was seen around the crime scene before and after the abduction and murder. Johnson is being held without bail. He'll be arraigned tomorrow morning. Happening tonight in Colony, emergency crews are just clearing the scene of a 2-car crash that has sent 2 people to the hospital. It happened on Central Avenue near Locust Park Road just before 10. Police tell us firefighters had to use the jaws of life to free one of the victims. Right now, the 2 injured are being treated at Albany Med. Fear that taxes will go up as much as 50% forced some grassroots citizens groups to join forces today. Concerned taxpayers of Stillwater and the Saratoga Tax Reform Group say they'll be at all the town and village board meetings to show their opposition to projected tax hikes. Warren Dawson, head of Concerned Taxpayers of Stillwater, says it has to stop.
It's getting worse and not better. People are losing their homes already, selling their insurance policies in order to pay their taxes, and it's got to stop.
Concerned Citizen says it's not against improvements, it just wants to keep taxes from escalating. President-elect Bill Clinton spent this weekend kicking back in Little Rock and taking a long-awaited breather before jumping into his new job. Tomorrow, Clinton and his Vice President Al Gore will sit down with members of their transition team to talk about building their cabinet. There's been a lot of speculation about who will get what jobs, but Transition Chairman Vernon Jordan says the Secretary of State will not be named first, but second.
Given the emphasis in the campaign, I would think that people having to do with the economy, Secretary of the Treasury, head of OMB, that those would be priorities. Hopefully, it will be people related to the economy. On the other hand, it could be national security.
President Bush returned to the White House, about to join the 5 former presidents in taxpayer-provided retirement. But because of new federal legislation, the director of the Secret Service will meet with each of the former presidents to talk about how to cut the high cost of their protection. Meanwhile, warnings from Capitol Hill that President Bush might be making a mistake if he pardons Iran-Contra defendants.
For him now to pardon all of the persons involved and to prevent further trials from occurring would, I fear for his sake, be seen as an effort to prevent further information from being made public about his possible involvement or his knowledge of matters.
6 people are dead and many others are wounded following a shooting spree in Morro Bay, California. That tops 11 at 11's World Rap. The gunman went after his victims in a string of separate assaults before taking his own life. Police say he was apparently seeking revenge for being evicted from his home and banned from a card club. German leaders were pelted with stones and eggs by protesters who crashed a rally against a wave of racial attacks in Germany. The anarchists are upset over Helmut Kohl's plans to restrict the right of political asylum enshrined in Germany's constitution.
Stanley Sergeant Shaw, Peter Matthew Firebind,
Jack McBride Lyle, Donald Leon.
A solemn homage to the 58,183 Americans killed or missing in the Vietnam War. Today, volunteers began reading off the names of those soldiers in a tribute that will last until Wednesday. The commemoration is part of the 10-year anniversary of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Wall. 11 at 11 keeps moving now with the first forecast from the weather patio. What's up, Peter?
Well, what's up is not the temperatures, and I'm doing what you should never do. I forgot my coat today, so I'm out here freezing. We only made it up to 35 today, not much better for tomorrow. Here's the way it looks. Around the 8 o'clock hour, a temperature of around 24 with lots of sunshine, but don't let that fool you. Partly cloudy at noon, 34, and by 5 o'clock, 36 degrees. We're looking for a high tomorrow around 38. But it does get better as we move through the week. We'll tell you about that in just a few minutes. Mary Beth.
Okay, I know where you are now, Peter. And from the patio to the news center, let's get the first look at Sunday sports action with Kyle Kraska. Kyle, what's up?
Mary Beth, on Week 10 of the NFL season, the Buffalo Bills needed a victory to keep pace with division co-leader Miami. The Bills hosting Pittsburgh, a team that knows it's number one in the Central Division. It would like to know how well it stacks up against the rest of the league. It's hard hat territory when the Steelers are in town. Early on, the Bills from short range. That's Jim Kelly, the play-action pass to his offensive lineman, Rich Ferrotti. The Bills are in control. Later, Kelly going to the guy who's supposed to be catching the football. James Lofton, so open he's lonely. 46 yards for the touchdown. An 8-point win for the Bills, 28-20 the final. They remain tied with Miami for the top spot in the East. Speaking of the top, Miami Hurricanes on top of the AP College football poll. Alabama number 2, followed by Michigan, Texas A&M, Florida State Seminoles number 5. The Huskies fall all the way down to the 6th slot. Nebraska 7, Notre Dame 8, Arizona hurdles Syracuse. Boston College tumbles from the number 9 slot all the way down to number 17. More on the NFL, the hoops, and the pucks coming up in a few minutes.
Okay, see you then. Well, now let's take a look at what you'll be seeing in tomorrow's headlines. The bad economy is expected to hit hard this holiday season. The Gazette reports food pantries are bracing for a busy year. They believe they'll be giving out more Thanksgiving and Christmas packages of food than in previous years. And the AIDS virus can strike anyone. The Saratogian says Skidmore students created a human chain on North Broadway to stress that message. The chain ended AIDS Awareness Weekend, which raised $1,500 for the Saratoga AIDS Task Force. Up next.
This is a wonderful way of life. I think you get hooked.
Weekend Getaway hits the road while keeping you in the fast lane to savings. They're big in the 70s, and now the RV craze is driving back into the 90s. When it comes to vacationing on a shoestring, reporter Mike Sanford says RVs will put you in the fast lane to savings.
RVs, they're back, and they number in the millions. Just check your rearview mirror or the next lane over.
In case you thought that RV travel was just a phenomenon of the 1970s and 80s, think again. In some ways, it's bigger, more popular than ever. And not just during the summer months. In fact, for many RV travelers, this is the time of year when their vacation begins.
When the going gets cold, the snowbirds get going, RVing their way south to escape their chilly home states.
This is a wonderful way of life. I think you get hooked.
Arizona is a big hotspot for senior sun seekers. Here, snowbirds can sojourn at adult RV resorts like Rincon Country in Tucson. 2 people can stay for about $20 a day with lower weekly and monthly rates.
During a normal week, there's 80 to 100 different activities going on here, and you can't help but enjoy it.
Then there's Quartzsite, Arizona. At first glance, just dusty, dry desert. So why do 30,000 travelers drop by each winter? For rocks, gems, a famous flea market, and a friendly flock of snowbirds.
Winter weather is outstanding, and the weather brings them.
In the case of Baja, the road to warmth is Mexico Highway 1, stretching from Tijuana to Los Cabos. It's real shoestring travel, and you'll see countless RV travelers making the trek.
We feel we can get by for a little over $1,000 a month, and that's gas, food, and everything.
Snowbirds will tell you it's the only way to go. Compared to traditional vacations, they say it's at least 50% cheaper. Mike Sanford for 11 at 11.
You can find out more about vacationing by RV. Just send a self-addressed stamped envelope to Weekend Getaway, care of News Center 6, 1400 Balltown Road, Schenectady, and the zip is 12309. Be sure to write RV on the outside. If you're jumping into your RV tonight, let's hope it has a good heater in it. Weatherman Peter Bernard has more.
After this weekend, the 50s are going to seem nice and warm. We've got some 50s heading your way. I'll tell you when we come back with the weather forecast.
News Center 6 weather is sponsored by Bryant Heating and Air Conditioning.
Get ready for a fairly typical November week. Here's Peter.
And that's the unfortunate part.
Yeah.
We'd like to see some
Typical
nice...
meaning cold.
Yeah, typical around 50s. We're going to get into around 52 is probably all we'll be able to see this week. It's not going to be one of the warmer weeks, but it's about what we should see for November. Not warm today. High temperature, 35 degrees. Our low is 25. We're going to drop below that tonight. There's the normals, 51 and 34. A trace of flurries around. Outside right now, skies are cloudy over the Albany County Airport, although we do have some clear patches around. Temperature 28, winds out of the north at 6. Humidity stands at 61%. And let's take a look at some of the other temperatures that came in. 17 degrees, one of the cooler spots around up towards Watertown. Down to the south, Poughkeepsie at 18. Why the difference? Well, wherever there's clear skies, it's a clear off and become very cool. 28 is our current reading, and we have clouds overhead. Let's take a look at our satellite picture. Off and on clouds for most of the day. We've got a northerly flow in here. Big dome of high pressure pretty much controlling all of the eastern seaboard. And that is including us, unfortunately, and that means we're into the cool stuff. Some record lows were set last night, and record lows were tied as well. The big map looks like this. You can see a little bit of cloudiness up here, and there's been some snow associated with that. 28 was the high today in International Falls. We are under the influence of this high, which means we're seeing the real cool stuff come down from Canada. It's going to be sliding off to the east. As it does, we'll get into that southerly flow by Wednesday. And that means we're going to see some temperatures, hopefully, into the 50s, and that will be nice after this weekend. Tomorrow's map looks like this, another cool one with a high of around 38 degrees, kind of a carbon copy of today. Warm front approaches. We're going to see increasing clouds on Tuesday with a chance of some showers by Wednesday, but at least it will be warmer. We'll be back with that forecast in 30 seconds. Don't go away. That was the fastest 30 you ever saw. How about that? Overnight tonight, here's your forecast. Partly cloudy and cold, down to around 17 degrees. Tomorrow, a sunny start, then increasing clouds during the day, high of around 38, winds light. Tomorrow night, variable clouds and not quite as cold. We're calling it chilly. Overnight low around 28 degrees. Our 4-day forecast on Tuesday, we're going to see warmer conditions, but clouds, 48 degrees. There's the showers on Wednesday and 51. Thursday, a chance of showers, 52. And Friday, chance of rain and 45 degrees. Weather phone, if you want to hear more about it, 518-476 WRGB. Real cold stuff heading our way, but it's going to be slowly inching up to where we should be.
Something to look forward to.
Yeah, sort of.
Okay, thanks, Peter. Well, up next in sports, the New York Jets visit Denver with hopes of bucking the Broncos. Kyle Kraska has highlights of the Jets, the Giants, and more when we come back. Kyle's here with sports, talking about the Jets in the Mile High City.
Yeah, a game that the Jets could possibly win. The Broncos are favored in this one, but a lot of folks thought the Jets had a chance. They say, you know, the numbers don't lie, but most football enthusiasts seem to see that Denver isn't quite as good as its 5-3 record, while at the same time, the Jets aren't quite as bad as their 2-6 mark might suggest. So perhaps the Jets had a chance today. Then again, since 1969, the Broncos had lost only twice to teams from the AFC East at Mile High Stadium. And that statistic did not change today. John Elway from his own 20 launches one to Arthur Marshall. An 80-yard touchdown pass, the longest of Elway's career. Kenny O'Brien taking over for Browning Nagel and doesn't do a whole lot better. This pass is tipped and picked off by Wyman Henderson. He'll go 46 yards for the touchdown. 27-16, the final. The Jets fall to 2-7 now on the season. Over at Giant Stadium, the New York defense becoming reacquainted with the Packers. Ed Reynolds smothering the punt. Lewis Tillman on the recovery. It leads to a Matt Barr 38-yard field goal. Still, the Giants fall behind 7-6, and things just got worse, like when Lawrence Taylor blocks the Brett Favre pass and gets tangled in the turf, tearing an Achilles tendon. Taylor carted off. He'll have surgery tomorrow, likely gone for the season. But the Giants do come alive. Renee Thompson on the INT. He'll take that the distance, 69 yards for the touch. Make it 3 straight for the Giants. They improve to 5-4 on the year. The league's top team on top of their game again today in Detroit. This is the first quarter, no score yet. That is until Cowboy Emmitt Smith bounces to the outside and in for the score. That makes it 7-0. A long day for Wayne Fonts in the third. It's already academic by this time. Michael Irvin continuing to burn that Lions secondary. This one is 62-yarder. They will rule him down at the 1-yard line, but Emmitt Smith will get the touchdown. Still just one loss for the Cowboys. The Lions fall to 2-6. Jim McMahon, a picture-perfect day as he took over for the ineffective Randall Cunningham. Second quarter, Eagles lead by 7. McMahon going deep to Fred Barnett. and everyone just stopped and watched as the 42-yard touchdown play was good. Third quarter now, not Herschel Walker. That's Keith Sherman for the touchdown. Walker will nail it down with a 2-yard plunge. A breeze today for the Eagles. Randall Cunningham had better not get too comfortable on that bench. That's because Rich Kotite says he'll be the starter next week at Green Bay. The Vikings are making themselves comfortable atop the NFC Central Division. Today, Tampa Bay, Steve DeBerg getting clobbered. Carlos Jenkins will recover that fumble, and see you later. 24 yards for the touchdown, 14-zip Vikings just like that. Later, DeBerg in trouble again. His shovel pass is snared by Chris Dolman, and he'll rumble 27 yards into the zone. The Bucs have dropped 5 in a row. The Vikings now 7-2, still all alone in first place. Here's your scores. Tommy Hudson sacked 5 times as New England loses again. They're 0-9. Houston gets beaten by Cleveland. Warren Moon 69 yards. Miami blanks Indianapolis. Phoenix deals the Rams a loss. Kansas City nips San Diego. Washington down Seattle. It's in overtime. Cincinnati, Chicago tied at 28. And if you miss First Sports, Buffalo beat Pittsburgh. 3 touchdown passes for Kelly. At Merrimack this evening, the RPI Engineers skated to a 3-all tie with the Warriors. Kelly Askew gave Polytech a 3-2 lead with 2 minutes to go, but Merrimack netting the game-tying goal with just 3 seconds on the clock. The Engineers are now 1-0-2 on the year. They now head to Brown University for a date with the Bears on Friday. On the ice, the Penguins with just 2 losses trying to keep it that way in Chicago. Murphy, the shot from the circle. Mario Lemieux with perhaps his easiest goal of his career. Pens lead 1-zip. But some confusion on the power play. Dirk Graham swipes the puck and trickles it past Barrasso for the shorthanded goal. The Blackhawks pile on a bunch more, and they lead it big now in the third. Here's the scores from the NHL. Vancouver beats Winnipeg 6-1. LA over San Jose 4-0 now in the first. Calgary, Quebec skate to a 5-all tie, and that's got us all wrapped up. All the NBA is kind of late over on the West Coast tonight, so we didn't bother you with that.
All right, thanks. Okay. Glad not to be bothered. Thanks, Kyle. On the other side of the break, weatherman Peter Bernard will recap tomorrow's forecast. As usual, we'd like you to call our newsroom when you see breaking news. Just dial 346-TIPS. If numbers are easier for you to remember, just call 346-8477. If you have a car phone, dial *6, and that is a free call. Just enough time for one last check-in with Peter.
It's time for hot chocolate, as Kyle would say across the way there. We're going to see a cool day tomorrow, but warming later on. Here's the way it stacks up. Around 8 o'clock, lots of sunshine, 24. Noon hour, partly cloudy, 34. By 5 o'clock, there'll be some clouds pushing in, but still not too bad. 36 degrees for a temperature. Look for a high tomorrow of 38. We're looking at 51 by Wednesday.
But does Kyle ever bring in hot chocolate for his friends on the news set?
That's a negative.
That's the problem. So we're going to work on that.
Next week.
All right. That's it for us. Ed Sullivan is next. Be sure to start your day with the First News team tomorrow morning at 6:30. Good night.